In the last 24 hours, your dog sent you 16 direct behavioral transmissions. You received on average 3. This is not a criticism. It is a translation problem. Your dog speaks a language built from scent pressure, position timing, and motor sequence. A language that evolved in parallel with yours over 15,000 years, but never once overlapped with it. You were never taught to read it. Most people go entire lifetimes without being taught to read it. The behaviors on this list are not random. They are not quirks. Every single one of them is a precise message from a system that was built biologically across thousands of generations to communicate with you specifically. Correct relaxation. Today we are going to translate all 16, grouped by the communication system each one belongs to. By the end, the way you look at your dog's body will have permanently changed. We are starting with the deepest layer, the one your dog speaks in scent. Your dog's nose contains approximately 300 million olfactory receptors. Yours contains 6 million. The portion of your dog's brain dedicated to processing scent is proportionally 40 times larger than the equivalent region in yours. This means your dog does not live in the same sensory world you do. They live in a world that is almost entirely made of scent, and within that world, they are sending you messages you cannot read, because you cannot smell what they smell. Your dog does not sit beside you. They do not sit behind you. They sit specifically on your feet. Your feet carry the most concentrated version of your biological scent on your entire body. Sweat glands, skin cells, hours of accumulated chemical signal to your dog's olfactory system. Your feet are a broadcast tower, transmitting the strongest possible version of you in a single location. By sitting directly on them, your dog is not seeking warmth. They are immersing themselves in the most complete olfactory version of you that exists. But there is a second layer. Physical contact between a dog and a trusted human triggers a measurable oxytocin release in the dog's system, the same bonding neurochemical that activates between a mother and her newborn during skin-to-skin contact. Your feet are simultaneously the most powerful scent source in the room and a physical contact point. That combination produces a specific internal state in your dog that no other position in the room can replicate. And when strangers enter the room and your dog presses harder onto your feet, that is a third message entirely. That is your dog performing olfactory marking in real time. Their warmth and pressure on your feet transfers their scent onto you. They are in the vocabulary of their own language, declaring you affiliated, accounted for, spoken for. The pressure is not clinginess. It is a territorial declaration made from love. Now move across the room. Your bed holds the highest concentration of your scent anywhere in the house. 8 hours of sleep, the warmth of your body, the accumulated biological signature of you at your most still and most deeply yourself. Your dog's nose reads your bed the way you might read a handwritten letter. It is the most intimate version of your scent that exists in their world, which is precisely why your dog hides things there. The caching instinct is ancient. It predates domestication. In wild canid populations, food is unpredictable, and competition for it is constant. Storing resources in secure locations is a survival behavior that goes so deep into canine evolutionary history that it persists in animals that have never missed a meal in their lives. The instinct does not wait for necessity. It operates on a schedule that has nothing to do with your dog's current comfort level. What is specific to your dog, what makes your bed the chosen location, is the scent logic. In the sensory vocabulary, your dog operates in the most protected location in the house, is the most heavily scent-claimed location. Your bed is the most heavily scent-claimed location. The conclusion is automatic. The forgetting is also real. Spatial memory for cache locations in dogs is inconsistent. Your dog may genuinely have no awareness that there is something fossilizing between your mattress and the frame right now. They hit it. The instinct completed. The specific location did not get filed in retrievable memory. Regular inspections. No punishment. The instinct is not conscious decision-making. And then there is the air lick. Your dog's anatomy includes an organ you do not have, the vomeronasal organ, located in the roof of the mouth, connected by a duct to the nasal cavity. This organ detects chemical compounds, pheromones, molecular traces that the standard olfactory system cannot process at all. When your dog licks the air, they are directing scent molecules toward this organ for a secondary, deeper analysis. Think of it as switching from standard resolution to high-definition sensory processing. 1 or 2 air licks near something chemically interesting. This is pure sensory curiosity. Your dog is reading a message in the air that you cannot detect, but here is the version that matters differently. Persistent rhythmic air licking throughout the day with no obvious olfactory trigger is a documented symptom of nausea, acid reflux, and dental pain. The repetitive motion provides minor temporary relief from oral discomfort. It is also a displacement behavior associated with anxiety. Your dog is performing a motor sequence their body selected to manage an internal state they cannot otherwise communicate. 1 air lick curiosity. 10 air licks in an hour with nothing in the environment to explain it. Make the appointment. Every behavior in this next section comes from the same biological root, the management of vulnerability in a social species. A dog is not a solitary predator. They are a pack animal wired over hundreds of thousands of years to navigate exposure and threat within a group. Every behavior in this section is your dog's safety system running, and what it tells you about where you are in their world. Your dog will not eat until you are in the room. The food has been there for an hour. Your dog is visibly hungry. They will not begin. In wild canid social structures, eating is exposure. A feeding animal is distracted, head down, eyes on food, rather than environment. They are, for that window of time, vulnerable to approach from behind, to competition for the resource, to interruption. Eating alone is a risk calculation that survival selection has been eliminating for hundreds of thousands of years. Eating in the group with other individuals performing ambient environmental surveillance is the protocol that survival selected for. Your dog waiting for you is not submissiveness. It is not indecision. It is your dog's nervous system requiring the neurological safety state that your specific presence produces before it will allow the vulnerability of eating to begin. Your presence does not grant permission in a social hierarchy sense. It activates the biological state, the reduced cortisol, the lowered alert threshold that makes eating feel safe to their primitive nervous system at all. The practical concern: a dog whose eating is entirely dependent on your physical presence can develop real distress and food refusal during your extended absences. If this is your dog, begin introducing brief 30-second departures during meals now, before absence becomes a genuine crisis. Return before they stop eating. The goal is teaching their nervous system that eating is safe even when you have stepped around the corner. Now, here is the behavior most owners read entirely backwards. Your dog turns their back to you and sits with their back pressed against your legs. Most people read this as their dog ignoring them, or being aloof, or disengaged. The behavioral reality is the opposite of every one of those interpretations. In canine social signaling, the back is the most vulnerable surface. Exposing it to another individual, turning it toward them, pressing against them, settling weight into them from behind, is the most complete expression of trust available in canine body language. It means the dog has calculated that this specific individual will not attack from behind, that the threat behind them has been fully resolved by the presence of this person, that they can face outward watching the room because the direction they cannot see is covered. When your dog sits with their back against you, they are giving you the most vulnerable surface they have. They are also performing a service active protective surveillance on your behalf. They are watching the room so you do not have to. The arrangement is explicit if you know how to read it. You cover my back, I cover your front. A dog who never turns their back to you is a dog who has not yet filed you under fully safe. They are still monitoring. When that finally changes, when they finally settle their back weight against you and face the room without looking at you, you will recognize it as the completion of something that took a long time to build. The sleep growl is the final behavior in this section, and it is the one that has caused the most damage in human-dog relationships. Not because of what it means, but because of how it is misread. You touch your sleeping dog. They growl. You are shocked. They are shocked. The tail starts moving within 2 seconds. Here is the neuroscience. During deep sleep, the brain regions responsible for facial recognition and threat response suppression go nearly offline. When a sleeping dog receives a sudden tactile stimulus, the brainstem activates before the conscious mind has woken up enough to process what is happening. The growl is the brainstem's threat response firing before identity recognition is complete. 2 seconds later, when the conscious mind surfaces and recognizes you, the body switches entirely. Tail movement, eye softening, the specific relaxation of a dog who has just realized where they are and who is beside them. The growl was never directed at you. Your dog did not even know it was you. Punishing this response is one of the most counterproductive things you can do. You are not correcting aggression. You are teaching your dog that sleeping near you carries a risk of punishment for something they cannot consciously control. The correction wires fear into a moment of neurological vulnerability. Use your voice first. Say their name from across the room. Give their brain 6 seconds to surface. The growl disappears on its own. What we have covered so far is the foundation. The next section goes deeper into the behaviors that have nothing to do with you and everything to do with what your dog's body was built to do before it ever met you. Domestication changed where dogs live. It did not change what their bodies are built to do. The domestic dog shares approximately 99% of its DNA with the gray wolf. The behavioral programs built into that DNA, the movement requirements, the predatory motor sequences, the nutritional seeking behaviors, were not rewritten during domestication. They are still running, and when they do not have an outlet, they find one. The first behavior in this section is the one most owners find alarming and should find completely reassuring. Your dog suddenly sprints through the house at full speed, ears flash, pupils dilated, controlled chaos lasting between 3 and 8 minutes. Then they collapse and go still almost immediately. The scientific term is frenetic random activity period, or FRAP. Dogs were biologically built to cover distances of up to 30 miles per day. The domestic dog covers 30 feet of living room. Energy accumulates in the nervous system without the daily discharge that the body was designed to need. And when it reaches a threshold, the motor system triggers a complete release. FRAPs occur most reliably on low-activity evenings, after baths, and after periods of emotional tension in the household, because emotional tension produces neurological activation without physical outlet, and the system eventually overrides and discharges. This is not a behavior problem. This is your dog's nervous system completing its regulatory cycle. Your only practical responsibility is removing breakable objects from the path. Let the discharge happen. The collapse that follows is healthy. The toy shake is a similar story with different origins. That violent lateral snap, the side-to-side head shake that happens when your dog gets a toy, a stuffed animal, anything with some resistance to it, is the terminal kill sequence that can predators use on small prey. A single well-executed cervical shake ruptures the spinal cord of a rat or rabbit in the wild. The motor pattern is wired into canine neurology at a level below conscious decision-making. It does not require training. It does not require instruction. It fires automatically. The squeak deepens the activation. The sound of a squeaky toy closely mimics the acoustic signature of distressed small prey, which tells your dog's nervous system that the behavior is working. The toss and recapture sequence that follows throwing the toy and then pouncing on it completes the pursue, subdue, kill motor program that every breed carries, from wolf hybrids to cavaliers. Let them shake the toy, let them throw it, and pounce. This is not aggression. This is one of the most complete forms of psychological enrichment available to a domestic dog. They are completing a motor sequence that their body was built to need. Dirt eating is the behavior on this list that generates the most concern and the most misunderstanding. Geophagy, the deliberate consumption of soil, is documented in wolves, elephants, gorillas, and dozens of other species across multiple continents. It is not random. It is not a malfunction. Soil contains iron, zinc, magnesium, and calcium minerals that are frequently absent or insufficient in commercial pet food formulations. Your dog is not malfunctioning. Their body is detecting a deficit and following a behavior that has corrected that deficit in their species for longer than domestication has existed. Clay-rich soil in particular contains natural binding compounds that neutralize gastrointestinal irritants by the same mechanism as activated charcoal. Pregnant dogs who chew plaster walls are targeting the calcium in the building material to correct a real physiological demand. This is not random. This is precision. Get blood work done before correcting this behavior. Run a mineral panel. If the numbers are normal, then yes, this becomes a mental stimulation and enrichment conversation. A chronically understimulated dog will find occupation in any available substrate, but assume nutrition first. The behavior predates boredom by millions of years. The question of whether dogs experience emotion in any way that resembles what humans experience has been debated in behavioral science for decades. What is not debated is this: dogs detect human emotional states with extraordinary precision, and they respond to them in ways that are behaviorally functional rather than incidental. When you cry, 3 things change simultaneously that your dog detects before you are fully aware of them yourself. Your breathing pattern shifts, your heart rate changes, and your body chemistry changes at a molecular level. The hormonal signature of emotional distress is specific enough that your dog's olfactory system registers it as a distinct signal. In 2018, Researchers at the University of London published findings confirming what dog owners had long known, but science had struggled to formalize. Dogs respond to human emotional distress with what the study described as empathic concern, not merely learned behavioral association, but something functionally similar to compassion. The whimper your dog produces when you cry is their own distress response activated by yours. They are not performing sympathy. Their system detected your signal and responded with its own. The licking that follows the pressing against your body, the bringing of objects, these are different dialects of the same message. They cannot access what hurt you. They can be where you are while you hurt. The howl is a completely different transmission in a completely different register. In wild canids, the howl is a long-range acoustic locator. It is designed to carry over distances of multiple miles. It exists to do one thing: trigger a reunion response from separated pack members by broadcasting location and waiting for a reply. Your dog cannot distinguish between you going to work for 8 hours and you being gone forever. Their pack has disappeared. Their nervous system processes this as an emergency. They broadcast on the frequency that has solved this problem for thousands of years, the howl, and they wait. Audio monitoring research shows that separation howling typically peaks in the first 15 to 20 minutes and then gradually subsides as the nervous system begins to adapt. This means two things. The severity is front-loaded, and the behavior responds well to systematic desensitization. Start with 2-minute absences. Return before the anxiety peaks. Incrementally extend the duration. The nervous system learns to tolerate solitude through evidence that solitude is temporary and survivable. Punishment makes every version of this worse without exception. The play sneeze is the behavior on this list that is most consistently misread and most beautiful when it is understood correctly. That sneeze that happens mid-wrestle, mid-chase, mid-tug is what ethologists classify as a meta-signal. It is a real-time communication overlay that reframes every other behavior happening around it. The translation: everything I am doing right now, the intensity, the growling, the biting force, the speed is playing, not conflict. We are still good. Without this signal, high arousal play can escalate into genuine conflict because the nervous system cannot always distinguish between play combat and actual combat. Without a reset cue, the sneeze is that reset. Dogs who use it frequently are, according to behavioral research, typically more socially sophisticated and more capable of sustaining long-term relationships. Food theft lands in this section not because it is emotional, but because the guilt you read afterward is entirely emotional, and it is not what it appears to be. From your dog's perspective, they did nothing wrong. Canine moral reasoning around food does not include the concept of property ownership. In pack-feeding dynamics, food belongs to whoever is actively defending it. An unguarded plate communicates availability. Every behavioral signal your dog operates under says this is available. The expression you read as guilt is not remorse. It is a stress response to your body language and your tone. They are anticipating your reaction, not processing their action. Real-time correction or environmental management are the only tools that work. We have 14 down. The last section carries the most weight because these are the behaviors that say the most specific things about the bond itself. The moment luggage appears, your dog has made one of the most accurate associative connections in their behavioral history. Suitcase equals your disappearance. The causal chain is reliable, repeated, and confirmed across years of experience. The behavioral response is logical given the tools available. Lying on the suitcase is not dramatic. It is problem-solving. If the object cannot be packed, the departure cannot happen. The solution is elegant given the body and the brain your dog has available. The secondary behavior pressing their body into your clothing, your shoes, anything you are packing, is olfactory marking, running simultaneously in both directions. Their scent onto your things. Your scent deeper into their coat. It is a biochemical preparation for absence. They are taking as much of you as they can and leaving as much of themselves as possible on the things that will travel with you. Dogs that escalate to hiding keys or urinating on luggage are not being spiteful. The escalation is a signal that the anxiety response has exceeded the dog's capacity to manage it through physical behavior alone. That level of distress deserves a real desensitization protocol. Make the suitcase a daily neutral object. Bring it out when you are not traveling. Remove the predictive power of its appearance. The camera is an adversary your dog has very specific reasons to dislike. A camera lens is a fixed, unblinking circular object aimed at your dog from close range, approaching toward their face. In canine social signaling, sustained direct eye contact is not warmth. It is a dominance display. It is a challenge.
The eye that does not blink, does not look away and approaches directly is doing every wrong thing simultaneously according to your dog's behavioral programming.
Your camera is that eye. It stares without blinking. It moves toward them. When the flash fires, it adds a sudden bright stimulus to an interaction that was already confrontational. Your dog is not being difficult. They are responding with perfect behavioral consistency to a challenge signal. Shoot from the side angle. Disable the flash. Use high-value food to build a new association over repeated neutral encounters. Your dog's physical comfort is worth more than a composed photograph. And then there is licking. Allogrooming, mutual grooming between socially bonded animals, is one of the primary mechanisms through which mammalian attachment is built and maintained. It begins in the first hours of life. The mother licks the puppy to stimulate breathing, to circulate blood, to regulate body temperature, to signal safety. That association licking equals the safest, most protected moment of existence is formed before the puppy's eyes have opened for the first time. It never goes away. When your dog licks you, they are drawing on that foundational memory. They are performing a social maintenance behavior that belongs to their deepest attachment vocabulary. Face licking after you have been away is decontamination removal of the unfamiliar sense you accumulated while outside the home and reassimilation of you into the shared scent profile of the social unit. They are washing the outside world off of you. Persistent licking of a specific location on your body is something that warrants attention. Dogs have been documented detecting early-stage cancers and diabetic episodes through what initially appeared as affectionate licking of a specific area. Their olfactory system is sensitive enough to detect the biochemical changes produced by illness before those changes are clinically visible. They are not diagnosing, they are reading a signal that their system flags as abnormal, and they are doing the only thing they know to do with it: sustained, focused attention. And then there is the puppy behavior that never fully disappears. Licking the mother's muzzle is a request for food, for comfort, for presence. The behavior persists into adulthood because the emotional need it originally expressed does not fully resolve. When your dog licks your face, they are treating you as the central figure in their social world. That rough tongue is the oldest active communication channel between your two species, a ritual of recognition that has been running continuously for 15,000 years. Now you know what it says. I have been transmitting on the same frequency for 3 years. Here is today's logic. 6:47 a.m. You came downstairs. I sat on your feet. Transmission, you are the safest point in this room. I needed the full version of your scent close to me before the day started. 7:12 a.m. You set my bowl down and left the room. I waited. Transmission. I cannot eat without knowing the room is monitored. I need you, not the food. 8:05 a.m. You lifted your suitcase from the closet. I lay on it. Transmission. I know what that object means. I am asking you not to let it mean that again. 9:44 a.m. You cried. I pressed against your leg and stayed. Transmission, something in your chemistry changed. My system cannot leave you alone when it changes that way. 1:30 p.m. The afternoon energy built. I ran through the house for 6 minutes and then stopped. Transmission. The accumulation needed a release. The system is now reset. 4:15 p.m. You came home. I sat with my back against your legs and watched the door. Transmission, the back, is my most vulnerable surface. It is also yours now. I am covering the direction you cannot see. 7:58 p.m. You watched something on the screen. I brought you a toy. Transmission. I detected the stillness in you. I wanted to offer the thing I have. 9:30 p.m. You reached for me while I was sleeping. I growled before I knew it was you. Then I knew it was you. Transmission. The brainstem fired. 1 second later, it was only you. It was always only you. I am still transmitting. Same frequency. Still waiting for you to receive. You now speak the language, not fluently. Not yet. Languages take time, and this one has 15,000 years of vocabulary that nobody handed you a dictionary for. But you know enough now to know what you were missing. The dog sitting on your feet is not just warm. They are building a biochemical home out of your scent. The back pressed against your legs is not ignoring you. It is the most complete trust signal their body can produce. The suitcase leer is not dramatic. They are doing the only thing they have the body to do. The sleep growl is not aggression. It is a brainstem that did not know it was you yet. The licking is not habitual. It is the oldest language two species still share. The FRAPs, the air, licks the dirt, eating the toy, shake, the play, sneeze, the howl, the tears, response, the guarded meal, the hidden cache, the camera avoidance, the stolen food, None of it is random. All of it is signal.
All of it was sent to you specifically in the only vocabulary your dog has ever had.
You missed most of it. That is not a failure.
You did not have the translation.
Now you do. The question going forward is simple. How many of those 16 transmissions are you going to receive?
Drop your dog's name in the comments and tell us, which of these 16 did you recognize?
Subscribe to Correct Relaxation. Every week, we go deeper into what your dog has been trying to tell you. This is Correct Relaxation.
We will see you next week.